everybody, this is Brian. Welcome to Chiller Night Live, where from 8 p.m. Eastern Time until 9 o'clock we'll talk about all things horror, science fiction, paranormal. You pick the topic and we will make a show out of it. So with that, Stephanie says, hey y'all, hey Stephanie, thanks for joining us. Dee says, good evening everyone. Good evening, Dee. Thanks for joining us. I wasn't sure how this was going to work tonight because I got another, I got to the computer, opened up everything with the OBS, and there was something completely different with my chat. So I'm hoping that we don't have any technical snags tonight. Ava says hello. Hey baby, thanks for joining us. So I got a wave there from her. Dan says, hey, Brian and everyone. Hey, Dan, thanks for joining us. You know, it's funny. I get the most viewers live on YouTube. However, I get the most views on Facebook. And it didn't used to be that way. It used to actually be the opposite. So Bonehead says, hey, hello, Chiller Night crew and Brian. Hey, Bonehead, thanks for joining us. Yes. So I hope you folks are prepared for a nice, friendly, lighthearted hour. I think we could all use that. What do you think? Who's with me? So, yeah, let's just do that. I see a little ghost there at the end of Ghoul Evening, everyone, from D. Still, my multi-streaming chat is still doing this to where I see the emojis pop up like half a minute or a minute late for whatever reason. Okay, I'm going there, Ava says. Oh, you're going to Facebook? You can. Oh, well, that's where. Oh, now you're on Facebook. Hello, everyone, she says. All right. So Ava has now joined YouTube. So what's happening this week? Any good horror movies? I tell you what, I am very relieved. I'm sure Ava is too, and everybody involved with Jack Shadow's House of Terror, that we are just, we're out of the woods on that. So, as much as I love this stuff, and I think this stuff, like every day of the year, it is a monumental accomplishment for me, but it is also very exhausting. And I realize after all is said and done just how exhausted I really am. So I feel like hibernating. I won't do that tonight. I will stay with you. So with that, hopefully we still on? I think we're still on. Somebody give me a thumbs up. Somebody give me a thumbs up. Reason I ask is because also when I turned on OBS, it wanted to do another update. Now, the OBS has been notorious for whenever I click, yeah, sure, let's do an update, I lose something. So, or something that changes the settings or whatnot. So hopefully all of you are with me still, and I have no way of knowing that. So somebody give me a thumbs up. Be a sport. Somebody. Well, hopefully you can all still hear me and see me. And Ava, I see something from Ava, but Stephanie says, how was everyone's Halloween? I just see Ava's name because, again, the emojis. Maybe that wasn't the best advice for me to say, give me a thumbs up, because it will take a minute for that to process for some reason. Bonus says, Brian and Miss Ava Yins both have great holiday season. Enjoy all of Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. Figured I'd wish Yins that while Yins are both on here. LOL. I appreciate that. Thank you. As well as you. Brian Ivor says hello all. Hey Brian, thanks for joining us. I still haven't seen Ava's emoji there. Bah, clinking glasses. Okay, cool. Bonehead's got the thumbs up. Okay, cool. Thanks, Bonehead. Same to you. All right. So, let's see. D says, I see and hear you on YouTube. Okay, cool. Thank you, D. Yes, we are out of the woods with Halloween. And now looking forward to the holiday season. which for me, I know everyone, and rightfully so, would think of me as a Halloween guy. I am, but I'm more of a holiday season guy. And what I mean by that, of course, I mean, I don't think you need me to explain the holiday season, but I actually throw, like, I include New Year's in there as well. New Year's Eve, I've always just loved New Year's Eve. It's always been a big part. Like, even all this stuff comes from my childhood. The Chiller movies, the love of Chiller theater when I was growing up. All this stuff comes from a very happy childhood growing up with these things. And my parents and all of our relatives always made such a big deal out of the holidays. You know, Thanksgiving, Halloween. We covered that, because I've talked about that. That being such a big night. Growing up, at Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, it was always such a big monumental event in my house. So. And with a lot of things from my childhood, well, it's why I'm here doing this. It's still with me today, and it's very significant. Dee says, I can also see you on Facebook. Ah, cool. Very cool. SBC says, hello, everyone. To get straight to the point, tomorrow the whole election circus is finally over. Even here in Germany, we recently only hear about the election. Yes, it'll all be over, and there's one place you won't have to hear about it, is here during this hour. I've already got this set up in case anybody kind of strays. I'm sure everyone's intentions are very good. I have no doubt. I've known you guys, at least in this way, for a long time, and I'm sure all your intentions are well-meaning. So no matter what side of the fence you're on politically. All right. So, but for this hour, we'll just keep it lighthearted. I think we could all use that, right? And Brennan says, I checked. You're coming in good on Facebook too, Brian. All right. Cool. Ava says, yes, you make the holidays warm and magical. Ah, thank you. I appreciate that. SBC says, Halloween was great. I couldn't walk around much. I hurt my foot, but it was still nice. Ah, very cool. Not that you hurt your foot, but the Halloween was great. But it says, okay, I got everything done. I'll stay quiet and shut up now. Hey, well, you could talk about horror and science, sci-fi, chiller stuff. Chiller. All right. Yeah, no, don't shut up. John says, if you're recovering from the Halloween season, I am. You can recover with our favorite program. It's Tuesday night and time again for Chiller Night Live. This is your unofficial announcer. I like that, yeah. Crozak the Grand, and now here he is. Here's Bryan Hogue. Thank you once again, Crozak the Grand. For always your stellar intros. I very much appreciate that and get a kick out of those. Dee says, political sanctuary for an hour. Yes. Dan says, I knew better not to say anything. LOL. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna be rude and say anything like that. But I'll just, if I need to give a friendly reminder every once in a while, we'll do that. Stephanie says, I agree with Brian. This place is a political free zone. Tom says, I thought this was a live stream for election results. Oh, geez. Yeah. Dan says, by the way, I'm good on this side, Brian. Heard you loud and clear. Awesome. I think there was just a little moment there, like a minute toward the beginning there, where I wasn't real sure. But it seems like everything is working out well. So I appreciate you guys responding. Dan says, how about the Werewolf of Washington? Oh, you're pushing it, Dan. No. Stephanie says, by the way, I'm good on this. Heard you. Okay, cool. SBC says, politics free zone. That would make a great t-shirt. Yeah. Dan says, damn caps. The Werewolf of Washington. I do that all the time, Dan. Yeah, everything gets reversed there. Jeff says, hi folks, greetings from Texas. Hey Jeff, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you joining us from the Lone Star State. John says, November 3rd is the 70th anniversary of the release of Godzilla, and I have just heard that we will have another movie coming out from Toho soon. I did hear that. I heard that as well. Well, I tell you what, if it's as good as Godzilla Minus Zero, I'm going to be really looking forward to that. I didn't expect that movie to be as good as what it was. I like Godzilla movies. I'm not the biggest fan in the world out there. I know some of you are huge fans of Godzilla's. I enjoy the movies. I grew up on them. You know, I enjoy them, but there are certainly tons more people out there, bigger fans than I am. But when I watched that did, you know, take me back. Because one of my favorite, you know, I still love the original Godzilla. So, obviously, you know, the Godzilla Minus One really was very well done. I think fans of the original Godzilla, like myself, really enjoyed it. Brennan says, no, I didn't mean I was going to say anything about politics. I just meant I'd shut up and not say anything stupid, annoying, or offensive tonight. I know that'd be a first for me. LOL. I'll try. What? Then what are you gonna say then? Dan says, thanks. Oh yeah. We all do it, Dan, with those caps. Dan says, remember Giant Robot Brian? The Giant Robot Brian? No, no. I mean, I don't know which one specifically. Bennett's SBC says, Bennett, don't censor yourself as long as it's not political. I'm sure we all, are wore out. Stephanie says, I first seen Godzilla with the movie that had Matthew Broderick. What? Was that your introduction to Godzilla? And if so, I was about to say I'm so sorry to hear that. Unless you enjoyed it. Maybe you enjoyed it. Then, you know, my version of Godzilla, or my idea of Godzilla, doesn't have to be yours. But, really? That's something. You first seen Godzilla with a movie that had Matthew Broderick in it. Wow. That's something. Now, have you since gone back and seen some of the old school Godzilla movies? I mean, they have a lot of good ones, like in the 2000s and even in the 90s. They really have been keeping up on them all along. But I'm just, that is something. Bunny says November 3rd was Godzilla Day every year, and I watched the Big G all day on that YouTube Godzilla channel. All his movies, all the time. Really? They have a YouTube Godzilla channel. I did not know that. See, that's why I'm glad we have this show, because you guys tell me stuff, and then we can share it with everybody viewing here. I didn't know that. Is that a? I take it you would have to subscribe to that, or sometimes YouTube will play a movie with ads. You know, is that how this is done? Because I don't know how a lot of the, those movies would not be in the public domain, so I wonder how they're on YouTube. Curious to find that out. SBC says, the first Godzilla I saw as a child was the one with the giant parasite on the ship. The giant parasites on the ship. I remember the original, like, really standing out to me, the black and white Godzilla and the Mothra. I remember, when I was a kid, those were some of my earliest memories of the Godzilla movies. Kevin says, hello again. Hey, Kevin, thanks for joining us. Bonehead says, there goes Bonehead again. I'll shut him up. Watch this. D says, I enjoy the 24/7 Godzilla channel on Pluto TV. Really? I have Pluto TV. I wasn't aware that they had a 24/7 Godzilla channel. Interesting. There's another option for you guys who are Godzilla fans, if you're interested. Bonehead mentions the Godzilla channel on YouTube, and D says we got a 24/7 Godzilla channel on Pluto TV. Bonehead says SPC was that Godzilla 1985. I don't know about the parasites on the ship. D says on Pluto TV they run ads, but it's not too bad. Yeah, I don't mind the ads, because when growing up in the 70s, 80s, and all that, you saw ads, on TV. So I don't have a problem with that. I don't mind that. It's just kind of like watching regular TV in a way. Brian says Pluto has 24/7 Godzilla channel as well, free. Right. That's cool. Yep. You and D were mentioning it. So she says they run ads, but that's not bad. Yeah, I can put up with the ads. Dan says, yeah, I watched it the other day. It had the little Godzilla in it. There was another dude that looked like Ultraman. Oh yeah. See, if I were a bigger, I remember this stuff, but I don't remember the name of the characters. I remember that guy, but I don't remember off the top of my head his name. Godzilla is not my big specialty, but I've always enjoyed it. But it says, Brian, it's Godzilla live stream channel. Oh. It's all Godzilla original movies in Japanese. The only English one is Godzilla with Raymond Burr from 56. Okay. From the original, 54 movie that they Americanized. Maybe it says, oh no. Al said, what about us watching Godzilla 24/7? Al says, hi everyone, it's Chiller Night. Hey Al, thanks for joining us. Brian says, in Japanese with subtitles. I didn't mind that. Wasn't Godzilla minus one? Wasn't that? Am I remembering that right? Wasn't that in Japanese with the subtitles? I don't mind. I don't mind that so much. But it says it's a free channel, Brian. That's cool. Yeah, very very neat. I remember. I have memories of like Chiller Theater, but I remember more with the Godzilla movies on like Saturday afternoons on a channel. The show came on called Science Fiction Theater. It was a weekly program. I believe it was on Saturday afternoons. I was real little. I don't even remember watching that like in my teenage years. I do remember watching it when I was real little. And I remember just watching a lot of Godzilla movies from that channel. Stephanie says, my mom remembers and loves Ultraman. Ah! Me too. Ultraman. Hayata, the beta capsule and all that. Oh, she says, haha, yes, about the Godzilla channel. Oh. Or the Ultraman. Ultraman, oh man. Ultraman. Ava says, I still blame you, Bonehead. LOL. Yeah, I appreciate you guys telling me all these channels we can watch 24/7 Godzilla. SBC says, but before I read that, I wish I could play the Godzilla. Could you imagine that? If I could play Godzilla movies on Chiller Night Theater. I mean, how do they do it? I don't know enough about the Roku channels, because I would love to get a Chiller Night Roku channel. I would love to do that. And it would be so awesome if I could play these movies. Like, even, like, is there a loophole with that to where if you're playing them, you play ads and you can get away with it? Not get away with it, but is that the condition? Is that the requirement? I don't know. I don't know, but I would love to find out, because wouldn't that be awesome? SBC says, when will the first Godzilla movie become public domain? That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. Jeff says Godzilla is also an awesome song. Right, right. By Blue Oyster Cult. Rock on. That's true. Bonin says, I did it again. I really could mess up one. Probably mess up a one-car funeral. Doggone, I'm good. Oh, one-car funeral. Dan says, Ultraman and Giant Robot, watch those religiously in the 80s. Oh, that was his name. I remember another character, Spectreman. Remember Spectreman? He was all. That was another one I watched daily. I come home from school. I'd watch the Marvel superhero cartoons. I'd watch Ultraman, watch Spectreman. I remember his arch nemesis, Dr. Gory. Jeez. What a time. D says Paramount owns Pluto TV. Deep pockets. Ah. Oh, was that right? Dan says now YouTube needs an old Star Trek and 60s Batman with Adam West. Oh, yeah, that would be awesome. I know that I know some of the channels play, the old original Star Trek, and I have seen 60s Batman. I don't know, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head which channels have those, but I have seen them. Speaking of Batman, that reminded me of the Green Hornet. I don't know if any of you like the old Green Hornet, but those, I've actually found a channel on YouTube that plays those. Somebody must not care. That's I don't know how that works. Like sometimes I'll see the Night Stalker, or something that obviously is not public domain, but somebody's playing them. I don't know how they get away with that. I just don't know. So I don't know. Don't know what to tell y'all. But it says Toho has the Godzilla live stream channel. Yes, it has ads in it, but it's free. Toho. SBC, or Bonus says SBC, Toho will never let any Godzilla movies be in the public domain, ever. Toho is very protective of Godzilla and the copyrights. Huh. You would think, though, that Universal Monsters would be, and Dracula and Frankenstein will be going into the public domain. So I wonder how that works. Dan says, people of this age just need to know who the best Joker was. Cesar Romero. Yeah. Remember that? D says, Bruce Lee was on the Green Hornet, correct? Yes, he was. He played Kato. And the neat thing about the Green Hornet, I don't know, you know I'm a Lone Ranger fan. So the Green Hornet, what was it, Britt Reed, I believe was the character. I'm not a big Green Hornet fan, but I have watched episodes of it. The guy, the character, the vigilante, the Green Hornet, is a descendant of the Lone Ranger. The Lone Ranger was John Reed. His descendant, his nephew is Dan Reed, which is his brother's son. Okay, Dan Reed's son was either his son. I'm trying to think of what would take us up to the 1930s when those stories started coming out, or his grandson. Maybe that was it. Became the Green Hornet. Instead of Silver, his horse, the Lone Ranger's horse, they had Black Beauty. Or no, was that the name of the car? I'm trying to remember. It was actually a horse name for the car. And then instead of Tonto, they had Kato as the loyal sidekick, the partner of the Green Hornet, and of course the Lone Ranger. But there were those similarities because they wanted to tie that in there, make it known that that's a descendant of the Lone Ranger. I don't know if that was really made really pushed. They should have done that in the show in the '60s. That would have been kind of fun if they would have pushed that, because the Lone Ranger was such a big popular show not too long before that. So that would have been kind of neat if maybe they did touch on that. I don't know. Um, Brian says '60s Batman and '50s Superman in H&I channel sat on Saturday and Sunday mornings. Oh, I used to love the '50s. I have some of those DVD sets of George Reeves' The Adventures of Superman. When it says, Dan, my vote goes to Cesar Romero. My opinion, of course, Dan says, with the best Joker. Al says, the '60s Batman is on MeTV. Ah, okay. Bonus says, because Dracula and Frankenstein technically don't have a copyright enforced ownership of those characters. Oh, is that why? I know the characters don't have a copyright, because that copyright is, anybody can, you can have a character in your, like if you have comics or stories or a movie, you can use Dracula, you can use the Frankenstein monster, Dr. Frankenstein, or those characters. You just can't use those likenesses. Thor, every comic book out there, independent comic book, has a Thor character. The likeness, that's what you got to watch. So, Toho has that because Godzilla is their character, and they own him and the copyrights. I didn't know how that worked. Okay, D says, no way, fascinating. What about the Lone Ranger and the Green Hornet? Yeah, if that's what you're referring to. Yeah, that's, a lot of people don't know that, but I know that those aren't big characters nowadays, but back in the day, they really were. The Lone Ranger obviously was a much bigger and well-known character than the Green Hornet, but still, Green Hornet had its own little following. Of course, you saw the Green Hornet on Batman. That's where I'm making the connection, if you didn't know. They were actually they did a crossover with those characters coming into the Batman episode. They were on for a couple episodes, so... Bonus says, Universal didn't create Dracula or Frankenstein is what I meant by owning the character rights. Right. Yep. No, I followed you. I'm with you on that. Yeah. Just the likeness. Dan says, okay, I'll check it out. Thanks, Al. D says, yep, I didn't know about the connection. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I always thought, I know this isn't chiller, but this is hey, you guys picked the topic. We'll make a show out of it. But I will say, okay, Batman, I did it. Okay, Green Hornet, and then I went off to the Lone Ranger. So I guess I'm guilty, but with this topic. But I would have liked to have seen, because I have a book where I was reading. It's telling the story of Clayton Moore. It's called I Was That Masked Man, and he's telling the story of, he proposed an idea. He had a story like laid out, and he goes in the book and describes the story, and it's very similar to the Zorro movie in the one from the '90s with Antonio Banderas, and I'm drawing a blank. The older guy who's been in tons of movies. Very famous actor. I can't believe I can't think of his name. Anthony Hopkins. That first Zorro movie actually is very, very similar to what Clayton Moore had the idea for when he found out that they were going to do The Legend of the Lone Ranger back in 1981. It would have been so much better. It would have raked in so much money if they would have done it this way. But when the studios kicked Clayton to the curb, and I don't mean that they didn't pick him to be in the movie, but they really did a number on him with not allowing him to wear the mask, because he he made a living off of going to conventions and all these events, you know, as dressed up as that character. He put on a fantastic show. Man, he'd spin those guns like nobody else, and you know, teaching the kids virtues and all this stuff. And at times he would bring you know, silver on, and just really a big deal. Even going into the 80s, it was a big deal. And then they prevented him from wearing the mask because they didn't want people to associate. Believe that. I don't know whose idea this was, but they didn't want people to associate Clayton Moore with the Lone Ranger, with this new actor coming up that nobody knew. I mean, that would have been perfect to generate interest, you know, in the Lone Ranger, but that's not what they did. So, and that movie bombed because of the fan outrage, I guess you could call it, of how they felt Clayton Moore, their Lone Ranger, was being mistreated. If you notice in the 80s, John Hart did a couple cameos. He did one in Happy Days, where Fonzie meets the Lone Ranger. It was John Hart. John Hart only stood in for one season of Lone Ranger. And on The Greatest American Hero, it was John Hart who did a cameo as the Lone Ranger. So they didn't use Clayton Moore. They used John Hart. So, and John Hart did play him. I'll get off of this topic because I know it's not chiller, but felt it was important to share that with you for some reason. Jason says, "Good evening, Jack Shadow for president." Ah, we'll wait for that. But hey, I'm sure he would agree. Yeah, yeah. SBC says H.P. Lovecraft is in the public domain, or at least his books, and there are many good movies adaptations of him. Right, right. Yep. Bonin says, "You got it, Brian. I'll be quiet now and let others text." I mean, it's time, really. Yes, for sure. What? You don't have to be quiet. PBR. Hey, thanks for joining us, PBR. I'm waiting. I'm waiting to see if I'm getting the waves. It takes like a minute or so for those to pop up. I don't know why. I don't know why. It never used to. They used to be instant. As soon as you posted something, I can just see your name, but I can't see what you posted. If it's emojis. SBC says, making remakes is something that Hollywood studios just can't do right, but they keep trying. Yeah. Yeah, they lack in originality and just talent anymore, it seems. Yeah. Bonin says, "I agree with you on that, SBC." Yeah. Oh, there's the waves. I got the three waves from PBR, so appreciate that. Yeah. So what were we talking about, though? Godzilla never going into the public domain, Dracula and Frankenstein, why they are able to. We're talking about some Godzilla channels that are 24/7 on Pluto TV and YouTube. And there was another one, but I can't remember the other one that was mentioned. Bonin says, "Bonin can't be quiet for very long, as we can unfortunately see." It is 8:34. I would have guessed it. I figured we were 15 minutes into this. So let me do my shameless plug for my store. Picture do I have here? Ah, there's my store in the Cranberry Mall in Venango County, Pennsylvania. Venango, not Butler County. There is one in Butler County, but my Cranberry Mall is the one in Venango County. So we have the Witching Hour escape room. Oh, that's what I did on Halloween night. I had a group go through the Witching Hour, and they got out with just like 2 minutes and 45 seconds remaining. So it was a little close. Wasn't on the edge of your seat close, but it was pretty close when you consider a whole hour. And Zombie Outbreak. Just had somebody go through that Saturday. They did not make it, but they had a lot of fun and said they would like to try the Witching Hour next when they come back. So both are 1 hour escape rooms, both horror themed. And if you'd like to book either of those, you can just dial 814-209-8214. That's the store number, 814-209-8214. Or you can go online and book it at chillernight.com. So, again, witching hour or zombie outbreak. Weird to think that we had that and the Jack Shadow's House of Terror all in the same store. But we did. We did it. And you'll notice that, like, if, well, some of you, I know, like D, you shared that of mine, but on my Facebook page, and then I've shared them with the, Chiller Night Escape Experience, Jack Shadow's House of Terror, and Chiller Night Theater's Facebook pages. I've said on there too, if you're in the area and you're close, there is one of the things I'm opening up is the idea of doing, well, I mean, it's out there, so if you want to book a birthday party in the Chiller Night store, there is now an option to do that. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know exactly what I'm getting myself into, but I'm doing it. So we'll see how that goes. We did do one party it was on Sunday the 20th of October. It went over very, very well. There was like 30 people there. It went off with no problems whatsoever. Went on for several hours, and everybody had a good time, including myself and Jack Shadow. Jack Shadow was there. So, show some of the pictures. Now, the parents, they brought all the decorations and the food in. There's Jack Shadow talking to the kids there, and he gives them a tour with all the lights on in the haunted house, a no scare tour, and Jack is in a non-scary manner with the kids, and they really enjoyed the character and just were very inquisitive, and they had a lot of fun, and again, so did I. I thought that was a really good time there. I'll show some of the pictures of the haunted house, which, it wasn't that long ago. It was just a couple of weeks. There's the crew. There's some of the crew, and there's that one is missing some of them, and this is missing some of them. But we had a total number of staff of 25 on the nights of operation. And there's some pictures of the main clown here. There's a zombie looking through a window. There's my infinity hallway, which I thought looks really cool. There's Daniel. Daniel, are you on here tonight? Sometimes Daniel shows up. He's one of the zombies. You think about it, he should be not up walking around if he's got a big gaping head wound like that. And there's my beautiful bride as the witch, and in a very fog-filled room. And there's one of the chaps about to be beheaded by Bob. Remember Silent Bob? He used to be on here all the time, but he works in the haunted house, one of our werewolves. And Art the Clown. This kid did a fantastic job playing Art the Clown. So, let's see. PBR says, I have a movie recommendation. Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, and Vincent Price in The House of Long Shadows. Oh, yeah. I think you mentioned that maybe even last week or the week before. Somebody did. That sounds familiar. Very cool. Well, there you go. There's a movie recommendation by PBR. The House of Long Shadows. Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, and Vincent Price. Can't go wrong. Bonus says, cool shirt, Brian. I got bad eyes. The skull ain't got no eyes. But is that Spider-Man on that shirt? Yes, it is. It's Secret Wars back in the 80s. The Marvel mini-series, The Secret Wars. The first one. So, what this one is. Who all is on here? I got the Hulk. Captain America, Wolverine, they got the Thing. We got all kinds of them on there. Dan says, "Hey Brian, are you near the Dawn of the Dead Mall?" No, that's in Monroeville. I mean, I'm not far from it, but I'm closer to the mall I'm in is about 40-minute drive, 30 miles north of where I live. And the Monroeville Mall would be probably, well, Pittsburgh's about just a little under an hour away, and then we add on about 30 more minutes, so about an hour and a half away. So I am closer to, I'm not far from the Monroeville Mall. I've been in it plenty of times, but I'm closer to the Cranberry one. But am I near it? In my, yeah, I guess, and you know, I consider that near. I don't consider like Pittsburgh and Monroeville that far away. PBR says, how was your Halloween, Brian? It was fantastic. I had a good time. Like I said, we had a booking for the witching hour that night, so that was cool. I know the family that went through that had a really good time. They did a good job. SBC says, or Bonus says, SBC, you shouldn't value any comments that I make. People often ask, what are you talking about? It's an oft-heard comment I get a lot. Okay. Jason says, Secret Wars was the best. Introduced the Venom suit that Spidey wore. Yeah. I don't have the paper version of the series, but I have it digitally. Excellent series. Great shirt. Yeah, that's true. That's right. I forgot about that. That was the first introduction of the Venom suit. Yeah, from the alien suit he got. And Doctor Doom. I love Doctor Doom. He's my favorite Marvel villain. So I really hope that when they bring him to the big silver screen in the new MCU movies, that they just treat him right. You know, come on, he's the best villain ever. So, you know, do a good job, Marvel. You haven't been lately, so just you know, muster up all your talents and go out with a bang. You know, do Doctor Doom right. Stephanie says, SBC, yeah, actually it's like pizza rolls, but only hand size and shaped of skulls. What did I miss? Oh, pizza skulls. Okay. Oh, I totally missed. You had a book club tonight. The book How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix, and tonight I made pizza skulls for the club. Okay, now I'm on the same page. Next month will be arsenic and old lace. All right, so that's what I missed. Somehow I miss these sometimes. Stephanie says, love the show, Brian. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. So, yeah, I remember just a few weeks ago we were you know, because Bonehead was saying about he didn't have anywhere like to do the a book club close to where he was. So that got me wondering about online. What do they have online? And you've answered that because you said that that they do, and that you're actually part of an online one. I believe you actually said so. Neat. D says, I heard Robert Downey Jr. would be playing Doctor Doom. Is that correct? Yes, that is correct. I wasn't. I'll give it a chance. I'll give it a chance. I wasn't happy to hear that, but I know that there have been some, you know, these multiverse storylines or whatnot, where to my understanding, they have connected Tony Stark with Victor Doom. You know, like I said, I'll give it a chance. I have not been impressed at all with the last batch of Marvel movies at all, like at all, to the point to where I won't go to the theaters to see them anymore. I'll wait for them to stream because I'm just so disappointed with them. But I mean, with it being Doctor Doom, I do like, you know, Robert Downey Jr. I think he's a good actor. You know, I won't dismiss it because it actually could end up being a pretty cool storyline. So be anxious to see. PBR says Doctor Doom is great, but Vader is #1 in my book. D says, or D, you're right. Stephanie says, yep. PBR says maybe a tie between Vader and Doom for the top spot. That would be tough. Doom is Doom's pretty tough. Yeah. He was always my favorite since as far back as I was reading comics. First time I saw that character, I was just fascinated with him. But you figure, I mean, he's got just super intellect. He's got, you know, the armor, of course, can do anything that, you know, Tony Stark's can do, and more. Plus, one of the things they started really delving into, particularly back in the mid to late 80s, maybe a little bit more into the late 80s, was this idea of Doom. I mean, they've always mentioned this about his abilities with magic. Well, now he's like super into it. Like he was even Sorcerer Supreme, Doctor Strange's part for a while. Did some time as the Sorcerer Supreme. I don't know where that storyline is right now. I haven't read comics for a long time, but I see this stuff on my, you know, Facebook feeds, you know, and some of the groups that I like. So that's my way of keeping up with things right now. Um, so yeah, that would be a tough one. PBR says Downing Jr. was really good in Oppenheimer. Yeah, I haven't seen that yet. I want to see that. D says, I jumped ship after the Avengers movies. Marvel, Disney, Moon Knight was interesting as a miniseries. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't mind that one either. I did. I liked that one. I watched that one. I watched. I did not like what was it, the Falcon and Winter Soldier. I watched it, but I didn't like it. Um, WandaVision. I watched it. It didn't grab me. Loki. I wanted to like it. Again, I watched them all, but I didn't like the whole time continuum multiverse thing. I guess that's what really, you know, I've expressed my opinion on this whole multiverse idea, and I don't like it at all. So, what's the last one I watched? I couldn't even tell you. I must have been Loki season 2. I think that's the last thing that I checked out. Which came after the Moon. There was Loki, and then Moon Knight, and then Loki season 2. But I do think they set that up to where it looked like they were going to definitely continue Moon Knight. So we'll see how that goes. I have not seen Deadpool and Wolverine. I haven't seen that, so I don't know what happens there. I saw the first Deadpool movie. I haven't kept up with them. I think some of the stuff is funny in it. You know, it's entertaining. See that, at least you know heading into that's going to be funny, and that's the way that character is. Now, when I go to the movie and see Thor being treated like a big comic, you know, the wacky zany adventures of Thor. That's what it's turned into. And compare like the recent Thor stuff back to where the movie originated. You know, they had man, that was like, that just seems so epic. You know, Kenneth Branagh was the director, and a very serious and talented actor and director, Kenneth Branagh. But he was at the helm of that movie there, and that was really well done. And then it went to a director, what was the guy's, Watiki something, I don't know, but who confessed that he's never read a Thor comic, had no interest in it. What? But you're in charge of the, I don't know, I don't understand that. They should be, yes, getting capable people who actually have maybe not a love necessarily, that would be great, but at least a nice, stable understanding of that character. That would be awesome. Maybe Marvel could do that next time. PBR says, has anyone seen 2024 Salem Lot? I have not. I have not seen that. I admit, I haven't had like a lot of time. I want to get back into having, you know, more TV and movie time. And, going into the holiday season, I'm taking it a little bit more easy on myself, so I plan to do that. So maybe that's one that I'll get to see. Dee says, I love Loki, but refuse to watch the very last episode. What? Really? The last episode of season 2 of Loki? Stephanie says, I got hooked after first seeing Avengers 2012. Yeah, yeah, and those were fine. Um, I really liked the first Avengers movie. That was really well done. Patty says Deadpool and Wolverine was great. A lot of fun. You should see it. Hey, Patty, thanks for joining us. So you recommend that one? Okay. SBC says I'm back. My live chat crashed. What? Well, we're glad you're back. D says Disney strives to ruin everything. LOL. Yeah, they really do. They really do. Like, SBC says movies were better before CGI. They did seem more magical in a way, like the original Star Wars, Superman, and Jaws, 1975 with Jaws, and Close Encounters of the Third Kind. That stuff, man, there was a magic there. It was movie magic, CGI. It's impressive. I mean, they couldn't have pulled off Jurassic Park, the first Jurassic Park, without that. But so I have an appreciation toward it to some degree. But yeah, you're right though. I mean, there's something that just seems so. When you can pull off some of those things with the practical effects and still make a fantastic movie, I don't know. That says a lot. That is movie magic. Dee says, correct, the very last episode of Loki. You refuse to watch it. Why? Because it's done? Is that it? Or did you hear how it ended and you just don't want to watch it? And I'm certainly not going to give any spoilers. That's not what I do here. I won't do that. But yeah, Disney strives to ruin everything, LOL. Dee says, I agree, at least with what they're doing with Marvel movies. And it's not just the movies, though. I will say in the comics have gotten, from what the little snippets that I see, they're just comics, they're lost. They've lost their way. But yeah, look at the Last Jedi and the some of the streaming series. I mean, some of them are good. You've heard me say 100 times about The Mandalorian, at least first 2 seasons. I was all in on those. The Book of Boba Fett, they had an opportunity with a fan favorite character, a side character. It was a fan favorite character, and they had this great opportunity to really do something great there, and they dropped the ball on that. I watched the episodes. I'm glad that they made it, because I wanted to see that character survive the Sarlacc pit. I was like, that is not the ending. That cannot be the ending of that character. So I'm glad in the official storyline, the canon, that we actually saw that character escape and how he escaped. But and I got up. That was like the first series I ever got up and would watch before work. I would get up earlier so I could watch. Like a little kid sitting there. I would sit there and watch that thing, and I was like, all right, not thinking it's great, but okay, I'm here. I'm here for it. Yeah, Ahsoka, same thing, kind of the same thing. It was like, okay, I'll watch it, but I'm not in love with it. So we'll see. We'll see where they go with it. Dan says, remember When a Stranger Calls, Bryan, from 1979? Sounds familiar. I mean, I couldn't sit and tell you anything about it, to be honest with you, Dan. But that sounds like a well-known title, or one that's jogging my memory. I don't know if I saw it. Patty says Jaws was made better because the shark didn't work forcing them to come up with the barrels and making us use our imagination, which was way scarier. Oh yeah, when you can't see what's in the water, that's like when you're a kid and the lights are out in the bedroom. That's when all those primal innate fears start, coming to the surface. Um, I I I agree with that. I agree with that. Yeah, the imagination is by far the scary. Well, that's what H.G. Lovecraft. So he was mentioned earlier. That's what he did a lot. He wouldn't describe a lot of the monster. He would say, he'd put the most horrible thing you can imagine. I don't know. Really doing a bad job of paraphrasing, but he let you create that in your mind, like, oh my gosh, this is, but yeah, that's very true. Stephanie says, has anyone seen The Labyrinth and Dark Crystal? No, no, I haven't. As big as those movies were back when they came out, and I was all into the fantasy thing, I didn't see those ones. I'm sad to say I didn't see those. We got 3 minutes left. Patty says, the problem with studios is they don't care. Slap a fan favorite title on like Star Trek and Star Wars and it will make money. You're right. That's exactly it. That's all they want, and they blame the fan for its failures. Yes. Too bad we didn't start with this, because I could do a show on this, and that very thing is not only irks me, but it makes obviously true old school fans furious at the studios and the writers and these idiots who allow this to continue. Stephanie says, Stephanie, do you mean the movie, the series, or the books? With The Labyrinth and Dark Crystal, Jason says, did you check The Children? Beat Light from When a Stranger Calls. Good movie with Carol Kane. Oh, no, I didn't. Did you check The Children? Is that a movie title? I did not even see that one. See, that's the neat thing about this here, because I'm in general a horror movie fan, but I mean I'm certainly no expert, and a lot of this stuff I'm hearing from you guys. Patty says, saw the movie in the theater, loved them. Dan says, I just traced the call. The call is coming from inside the house. Best part. Oh, well, I'm sure I've seen that scene, because that sounds really familiar. Patty says, Brian, they failed at the box office, Labyrinth and Dark Crystal. They might have failed at the box office, but they had such a cult following, though. I mean, those movies, I remember at the time being kind of like, in every comic book that I read, it seemed to have an ad for that, those movies. You would see those in the comic book. So maybe I saw that a lot there. And then Starlog magazine. Remember any fellow geeks out there? Did you ever get Starlog? Those were big in the Starlog magazine. So I read about them, and I was aware of them, but I didn't see them. And maybe they didn't do good in the box office, but they were still a big enough movie. I think they had their true cult followings. Patty says, stay safe all. All right, you too, Patty. Thanks for joining us. Stephanie says, take care, y'all. See you next week. It is 8:59. Hey, everybody. I want to thank you for joining me and each other tonight. I hope you had a nice hour, a nice, lighthearted hour. And Dan says, wasn't David Bowie in Labyrinth? Yes, he was. D says, When the Stranger Calls, 1979, remake in 2006. Very cool. So, with that, thank you. Have a good night. Have a good chiller night.